Right now, there is someone thinking about you more than you know, not in a casual way, not for one passing second and then gone. I mean deeply, heavily, in those quiet moments when the world gets still and there is nothing left to distract them. And the strange part is, this did not happen because you begged for attention, chased harder, or tried to prove your worth. It happened because you stopped. You changed one quiet habit. And that small shift hit them harder than any speech ever could. So stay with me, because this is not just about them. It is about what changed in you. It is about the moment you stopped pouring your whole soul into a place that could not hold it. And if this found you today, there is a reason. Maybe you have been feeling their energy. Maybe you have been remembering them at random times. Maybe part of you already knows something is moving beneath the surface. Listen closely, because this next part matters more than it first seems. What pulled them in was not your effort. It was your absence, not your words, your silence, not your chasing, your stillness. And once you understand that, you will never look at this connection the same way again. There was a moment when something inside you finally got tired. Maybe it was quiet. Maybe nobody noticed. Maybe even you could not explain it at first. But deep down, something turned. You stopped reaching the same way. You stopped checking, waiting, hoping, fixing, and making excuses for what hurt you. You did not create a scene. You did not send one final message full of pain. You simply became still. You let your energy come back home. And that simple move changed everything. Because they were used to your presence, used to your patience, used to the soft way you kept showing up, even when your heart was not being held with the same care. They assumed you would always be there, always understand, always make room, always come back. That assumption became their comfort. And once your energy pulled away, their comfort cracked. This is where the story really begins, so do not click away now. They are struggling not because you did something cruel, but because you stopped doing the one thing they counted on without ever fully valuing. You stopped abandoning yourself just to keep them comfortable. You stopped carrying the whole emotional weight of the connection. And when that happened, the silence around them got louder than your love ever sounded while you were still there. When someone believes your love is permanent no matter how they act, they stop tending to it. They get lazy with your heart, not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it shows up as delay, mixed signals, half effort, warmth one day, distance the next. They tell themselves there is time, more time to answer, more time to choose, more time to become ready, more time to finally give you what you already gave them so freely. But then one day, the energy changes, and suddenly there is not endless time anymore. That is what shook them. You stopped proving your value. You stopped opening the same wound just to show them how deeply this mattered to you. You stopped bending in every direction, trying to keep something alive that only you were feeding. And your calm retreat said more than any emotional conversation ever could. That is why they cannot fully relax now. That is why your name lands differently in their mind. Because people often do not feel the full weight of someone until that person stops making it easy. They do not notice the light filling the room until the room goes dim. They do not understand the safety they had until it is gone. And now, whether they admit it or not, they are being forced to feel what your steady presence was truly worth. This is where longing starts to turn into something sharper. People often think love grows from comfort alone, but that is not always true. Sometimes it grows in the shock of almost losing what felt guaranteed. The second your warmth stopped flowing toward them in the same way, something in them panicked. Not always loudly. Sometimes panic looks quiet. It looks like staring at old messages. It looks like reading your name and freezing. It looks like checking your profile and pretending it means nothing. It looks like remembering your voice at strange hours and feeling a tightness in the chest they cannot explain. They are replaying things now, the way you listened, the way you stayed, the way you gave care without turning it into a transaction. They are thinking about the moments you understood them without making them speak every hidden fear out loud. And now, the painful truth is rising. They had access to something real, and they did not fully recognize it while it was there. That realization cuts deep. Because losing a person like you is not just losing attention. It is losing the one place where they felt clearly seen. And once someone feels that kind of loss, ordinary distractions stop working the same way. Stay with this, because it explains more than you think. They are not only missing you, they are missing the version of themselves that existed in the safety of being understood by you. A deep connection does something powerful. It touches parts of a person they do not show the world. Hidden fears, quiet shame, tender hopes, old wounds, the parts they protect, hide, deny, or keep locked away under humor, busyness, or control. When you cared for them, you made space for those parts without trying to punish them for being imperfect. You saw more than they expected you to see, and somehow you did not run. That matters, more than they understood at the time. Because when you stepped back, those hidden parts were left uncovered. Now they do not have your presence to soften the noise inside them. They have to sit with themselves. And that is not easy. This is why your silence feels heavy to them. It is not empty. It is exposing. It is bringing old truths to the surface. Regret, fear, delay, emotional immaturity. All of it starts rising when the person who once buffered their inner chaos is no longer standing there. But hear this clearly. Someone thinking about you constantly does not automatically mean they are ready for you. Missing you is not the same as being able to love you well. Feeling strong emotion is not the same as doing real inner work. That difference matters. It may be the most important part of this whole story. Because emotion can be intense and still remain shallow if it does not become action, honesty, and change. That is why this moment is not about you rushing back to comfort them. It is not about breaking your peace because you can sense their sadness from a distance. The space you created is doing something your words never could. It is showing them the truth without debate. It is forcing reality to speak where explanations once failed. And if you step back into the same pattern too quickly, that lesson gets interrupted. Not because you are cold, not because you are punishing anyone, but because growth needs space, clarity needs silence. A person who only moves when they fear losing you is still moving from fear. And fear can sound passionate for a moment, but it does not always build something steady. The right connection does not need your disappearance to realize your value. It sees it while you are still there. It honors it in real time. It chooses with awareness, not panic. So if you have been feeling the pull to go back simply because you sense their attention, breathe. Slow down. Watch actions, not waves of emotion. Watch consistency, not just intensity. Because lonely people reach, scared people reach, but transformed people show up differently. And if there has been no real change, then the same pain will only return wearing softer words and a nicer face. Do not forget that. This next season of your life asks for discernment, not just softness. You may already feel this shift inside yourself. Less chaos, more clarity, less begging in your heart, more truth. It can feel strange at first because you were so used to carrying the anxiety of the bond. You were used to checking the signs, reading between the lines, waiting for proof, wondering what changed, wondering if you asked for too much, wondering if loving deeply was somehow your mistake. But now, something new is happening. The noise is lowering, and in that quiet, you are beginning to see that love should not make you disappear. Real care should not require you to shrink, overperform, over-explain, or stay loyal to your own pain. That lesson changes people. Once it truly lands, it changes how you answer messages, how you read mixed signals, how long you stay in confusion, how much access you give, and how quickly you abandon yourself for the comfort of someone else. This is why your energy feels different now. Other people can sense it too, even if you never say a word. You are no longer standing in front of the world asking to be chosen. You are standing in yourself. That shift is powerful. Quiet, but powerful. And yes, they feel it. They feel that you are no longer waiting in the same way. They feel that the old version of you, the one who kept the door wide open no matter what, is no longer leading your life. Meanwhile, they are living inside the echo of what changed. At first, they may have told themselves a simple story. You were busy. You needed a little space. Things would soon go back to normal. But time kept moving, and your energy did not return in the same old way. Then confusion grew. They started noticing your absence in ordinary moments. A late night, a morning drive, A slow afternoon. A song. A phrase. A memory they did not invite. Your absence began showing up in the small, empty spaces of their day, and that is when it got real. Because once a person realizes no one else gives them the same feeling of being seen, the mind starts comparing without permission. New conversations feel thinner. New attention feels weaker. Even when they try to stay busy, something stays unsettled underneath it all. They are not just missing your presence. They are missing the stability your presence gave them. They may not even have understood that they were leaning on you this much. But now that support is gone and they feel the drift. That drift is what makes them restless. That drift is what makes them revisit old words, old moments, old windows into who they were with you. They are trying to understand what happened, but deeper than that, they are trying to recover a feeling they can no longer easily find. If they reach out, it may not come in some grand, dramatic confession. It may come small, casual, safe, a low-pressure message, a tiny opening, a soft check-in, something that lets them test whether your energy is still available without requiring them to face everything directly. And this is where your grounding matters most. Because if you answer with instant emotional openness, they may assume nothing really changed. They may believe they can step back into your attention without stepping into deeper accountability. But if you stay calm, clear, and unhurried, then the truth remains in front of them. Not as a punishment, as a mirror. And many people fear that mirror because it shows them exactly where they were careless, passive, avoidant, or emotionally unready. This is why your dignity matters now. Not performance, not games, not calculated silence, just self-respect. Simple, steady self-respect. It tells the truth without shouting. It says your access to me is no longer automatic. It says I can care and still protect my peace. It says connection without consistency is not enough for me anymore. That kind of energy changes the whole field, and if they truly want to return in a real way, they will have to meet that version of you, not the older one who carried the whole bond alone. Watch this closely. The next move matters less than the pattern behind it. There may still be nights when memories hit you hard, times when you suddenly feel them, moments when your body remembers before your mind does. That is normal. A real bond leaves traces. Grief is not proof you made the wrong choice. Missing them is not proof you should go backward. Feeling tenderness is not the same as needing reunion. Sometimes it simply means the connection mattered. Sometimes it means your heart is honest enough to admit what was beautiful without denying what was painful. Both can be true. You can love what was real and still refuse what was harmful. You can honor the depth without reopening the wound. That is maturity. That is healing. And maybe the hardest lesson in all of this is learning that you cannot carry another person into growth. No matter how much love you have, no matter how deeply you understand them, no matter how patient, loyal, intuitive, or forgiving you are, their work belongs to them. Their patterns belong to them. Their readiness belongs to them. You can inspire reflection. You can create absence that reveals truth, but you cannot do the inner rebuilding for them. Once you accept that, something heavy starts to lift. You stop confusing love with labor. You stop confusing devotion with self-erasure. You stop believing that if you just explain better, love harder, or wait longer, someone will finally become able to meet you. And that freedom changes everything. What happened inside you is bigger than this one connection. You are becoming stronger and softer at the same time. Stronger because you no longer collapse your boundaries just to avoid losing someone. Softer because you no longer need to harden yourself in constant defense against disappointment. There is more room in you now, more honesty, more self-trust, more quiet power. If you have recently noticed a change in how you see your own worth, take that seriously. It is real. Even if they never come back, even if there is never a perfect closing conversation, even if the story remains partly unfinished on the outside, something finished inside you, a cycle, a habit, a painful loyalty to being undervalued. And once that cycle breaks, life begins to look different. You stop accepting crumbs and calling it depth. You stop glorifying confusion and calling it chemistry. You stop mistaking emotional inconsistency for mystery. You begin to crave what is clear, mutual, grounded, and clean. And that alone is a major transformation. So yes, hold your ground. Stay close to your own life. Keep building routines, peace, joy, purpose, and self-respect where anxiety used to live. Because what fills that space next will shape your future. And if you protect that space well, you will not settle for love that needs your suffering in order to feel significant. Silence is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not emptiness. Sometimes silence is the strongest thing a person can choose, especially after long periods of overgiving. It says, I am no longer performing emotional labor for someone who never truly honored it. It says, I will not stand here asking for permission to be valued. It says, I have stepped out of the position of waiting. And people feel that, even if you never announce it. They feel when you stop leaning forward. They feel when your spirit is no longer chasing after recognition. They feel when your peace matters more to you than being picked by someone uncertain. That is part of why they are so unsettled. They are grieving more than your absence. They are grieving the loss of access to a version of you that made them feel safe, centered, and important without asking enough in return. Time feels heavy for them now. But for you, time is starting to become useful again. Purposeful, clean. You may still question yourself sometimes. You may wonder if you were too firm, too distant, too unwilling to keep trying. When those questions come, return to the truth. Did you step back to hurt them, or did you step back to stop hurting yourself? There is your answer. You left because staying was making you smaller. And real love, healthy love, lasting love, should never require your reduction in order to survive. By stepping back, you said something powerful without saying much at all. You showed that the door does not stay open forever when someone keeps treating your heart like a secondary option. If they are capable of real growth, this is the kind of moment that can wake them up. If they are not, then your distance protects you from more loss, more confusion, more waiting, more invisible damage. And reaching the right outcome does not always feel loud or victorious. Sometimes it feels quiet. Sometimes it feels like grief. Grief for what you hoped would happen. Grief for the future you imagined. Grief for the version of the connection you kept trying to believe in. But grief does not mean you chose wrong. It often means you finally chose truth. Boundaries are not revenge. They are clarity in action. They reveal what words often cannot. They show whether another person is able to rise, reflect, choose, and meet what they claim to value. And whatever they do next, their response belongs to them. You are not responsible for managing the consequences of their choices. That burden is not yours anymore. Let that sink in, really sink in. Because once your body learns that love does not require constant anxiety to prove it is real, everything begins to change. Your standards change, your timing changes, your nervous system changes. Even if they come back, you will not return to the old pattern because now you can see it too clearly. You are in the space between who you were in that bond and who you are becoming now. It may feel unfamiliar. It may feel like stillness, suspension, or a strange kind of in-between. But this is not stagnation. This is deep change happening under the surface. You are no longer scanning every small signal for hidden meaning. You are no longer waiting for outside confirmation to feel steady inside yourself. Little by little, you are building an inner ground that does not depend on someone else choosing you correctly. That is freedom, quiet freedom, but real. The connection may have been true, it may have changed you, it may have mattered deeply, and still, it may have reached its natural limit because both people were not ready in the same way at the same time. Accepting that does not erase the beauty, it simply places it inside truth. And truth is what sets your life back in motion. They can feel that motion. They can feel that you are no longer paused in waiting for them to decide your worth. That is why your energy hits differently now. That is why they keep circling back in thought. Because you did not step away to manipulate them. You stepped away because your peace finally mattered enough. And once a person understands they no longer control the emotional center of your world, they are forced to confront themselves in a way they may have delayed for a very long time. So yes, someone may be deeply focused on you right now. Someone may be replaying your words, feeling your absence, wondering if they lost something rare. But the deeper truth is this: the biggest change is not happening in them. It is happening in you. You remembered your center. You came back to yourself. You stopped pouring endless energy into a place that could not fully receive it. That is where the real power is. Quiet, clean, lasting. And do not hand that power away too quickly just because someone finally feels the emptiness you used to carry alone. The older version of you, the one who waited longer, explained more, hoped harder, and loved past the point of pain, was not foolish. That version was sincere. That version loved with a full heart, because that is your nature. You do not love halfway. You do not show up in pieces. But now you know something you did not fully know before. Your depth is precious. Your care is valuable. And not everyone is ready to hold it well. That is about their readiness, not your worth. Do not mix those two things ever again. This is the shift. This is the new ground. And if you can feel it happening inside you, stay with it. Protect it. Build on it. Because the life opening in front of you will ask for your full self, not the diminished version shaped by fear, waiting, and overgiving. There is a great change that begins when all the noise finally drops and you can hear your own life again. At first, it feels unusual, almost too quiet. You may think something is missing because you spent so long living inside emotional strain. But what you are hearing now is not emptiness. It is your foundation becoming solid. It is your spirit no longer running in circles trying to earn what should have been given freely. And somewhere, the person thinking about you is feeling the weight of that truth. They are realizing that what slipped from their hands cannot be forced back into place by wishful thinking alone. They are facing the reality that your love was never an endless resource to draw from without care, without reciprocity, without growth. Whether they rise to meet that truth is up to them. Whether they stay the same is up to them. But what happens next in your life is no longer ruled by their timing. It is ruled by your self-respect, your peace, and your willingness to keep walking toward what is mutual. So if you needed a sign, let this be one. Do not go back to being smaller. Do not return to the old posture of proving, waiting, and hoping to be chosen. Keep your heart open, yes, but keep your standards awake. Because the real turning point was never their confusion, it was your clarity, and that clarity did not arrive to be wasted. It arrived to lead you forward.